Ti ricordi quella sera che per gioco tu baciai? Sembrava solo un'avventura.
All right, we are here. We are live in Mexico City for another session for Stablecoin Conference powered by Bitso Business. We are here with Tomas from BRL1, CEO here. It's going to be an awesome conversation. I'm excited. Thanks for being here. How you doing
Thank you for
today?
having me here. It's great. I love Mexico, loving the conference, and Bitso's being a good partner, but all the crowd and the vibe is very good. So
Yeah. Where are you
happy to be
based? Where are you typically based these
in
days?
São Paulo. We're based in
São
São Paulo, Brazil. So
I guess that makes sense given the business.
yeah, it will have to be local in a way, right?
Yeah.
In many ways.
Okay, well, why don't we start there? Why don't we, before we get into the business itself, how did you get into stablecoins to begin with? When did stablecoins become even a thing on your radar, something you wanted to build or innovate with?
It goes back a while, but let's say a financial markets career working with technology. That was way back when we started like fixed trading, electronic trading, high frequency, algorithm trading, all that. And as a general tone, it was always innovation, but it was always innovation in a way that we would bring more information at faster speeds, in more reliable way, and usually in the fringe of regulation. So now it's obvious, but 15 years ago, 20 years ago, when we started doing that, regulators would frown at high frequency trading, would say, no, there's no way we can do electronic trading for futures. And this has been constantly the case. 2016, I was late in the crypto game.
2016 isn't,
Well, I had people saying that for a while then, but by 2016, 17, I was looking at crypto and that was, especially like Ethereum, Vitalik, was kind of wake up call. Okay, this is really kind of the same thing I always done. Transparent, it's technology, it's information, it's fast speed, it's all data.
It's data.
Actually, it does have the fringe of regulation as well, but as I was learning, if you keep the principles of, okay, we have to be compliant, you have to be best practice, you have to do AML, have to do those things, it's okay. So that's on 2017, 2018, I kind of migrated from traditional finance to crypto. But then it was like, well, it's too broad in the sense that, okay, let's tokenize the world. We can tokenize everything, like tokenomics, it's all those bright new ideas. And we did work a bit with that. But at some point I said, look, if we're tokenizing everything should be settled and not getting to the max or not. I said, well, they'll still be settled in currencies. So I said, we need tokenized money to do that. You need the digital version, on-chain version of money to do that. So I issued my first stablecoin in 2019. So it's a Brazilian real stablecoin. And this is a limited scope. It's still running, still fine running. That went very well in the sense that the experiment went well. And that brought me close to regulators in Brazil also. Because back then they'll say, wait, what are you doing?
So 2019 token, this is like your first fiat-backed tokenized money for Brazil.
For Brazil.
What was that project called at that time?
It's called nTokens, which is it's on Stellar network, and it's traded BRL. So it's something that is very, very important lessons and very, very great experience. It's still, in a way, no regrets. But in time, I realized that it had to be a network thing. It had to be something that was broader than just a single issue. Company issuing, even though you can do it correctly, you do it compliant, you do it for reserves and so on, and which we did, it doesn't get the fact that an alliance, a network of users and participants can do. So my story of stablecoin comes a bit back, and I did then work a lot with regulators in Brazil in the sense, so I'm close to that. So I was very, very excited when the consortium came to me and say, well, how about we do things together, because...
What was it like working with regulators in Brazil at that time? Like, how did you, I think a lot of people right now are trying to, a lot of regulators generally are looking into the space right now to like get up to speed after seeing what happened in the US. I think a lot of global economies are starting to think really critically about this. This was 5 years ago. But how would you compare maybe the moment 5 years ago to maybe some of the conversations now?
Well, 5 years ago, they were more reactive a bit in the sense that, wait, that's not how it's supposed to do things, really. But at the same time, I was very lucky because in Brazil, first, they had a great experience with Pix, with sort of SPay, instant payment network of payments in Brazil. It works very well. It's very successful. So the central bank was already in, I wouldn't say crusade, but in path of, okay, let's make more efficient trading, more efficient payments. It's a long story in Brazil because of inflation, but anyway, this is something that helped a lot because the guys involved in that were very, very technically capable. They were very expert in technology, very expert in understanding payments. And in many ways, they're far ahead of the market. They're already discussing electronic payment, electronic distributed payment, digital version of paper money. Of course, now it seems a little dated, the discussion, but they were very open to that. Most of all, they had a civic spirit in a way. So they're really devoted to, wait, this is really kind of not the way we're thinking it, but we can see that it may bring value to citizens. Of course, for them, it's not consumers. Why? It's not customers, it's citizens. And in this sense, they're very open. They're very open. They didn't stop me doing that. They didn't say, in the end, we didn't have to change anything. They said, okay, we're doing it. It's fine. It's not forbidden. We're not yet have a specific rule to say how you do that, but sort of money in a different digital way. And until now, some 3-4 years ago, CVM, which is the Securities Commission in Brazil, catched up and is also saying, well, the future is digital and green. I'm sure it's the order, but anyway, they are totally into making it more digital, totally into benefiting from transparency. And they do see some strong value that we discuss, say, transparency, verification, auditability. But for them, this has a strong sense of value because they don't have large bodies. They're not huge corporations with thousands of devs. Then when you get a network that's global, that's being developed by open source, thousands of other people, and they can rely on that. So actually they are embracing. It's always hard for a regulator because if they're too bold, they'll be punished for that. So the incentives is different than say startup. But that being said, I'm very lucky and very happy that regulators was there doing their part.
Yeah. What's it been like the last 6 months? And then maybe before we go too far ahead, give people a sense of where you are today with this business. So you started this tokenizing fiat currency in Brazil, and that was 5 years ago now. That's evolved from what sounds like originally this kind of use case specific to that company. You were issuing this for your own purpose. You realized, what if we actually built a network around this, or like a platform approach to this? Give us, how would you explain BRL1 today and the evolution that is?
Yeah, it's not even evolution in terms that it's completely revolution. It's a completely new.
Completely new.
It's completely
No
new.
evolution.
Yeah, no, well, it is. It is, of course. We don't forget. We learn, of course, and nobody's making this out of zero, right? We're making out of very experienced people. But in terms of offering and the stablecoin itself, it's completely different purpose. Because now it's really like, first, I have the partners I want, dreamed of. They are diverse. They are, again, Bitso, Mercado Bitcoin, Foxbit, and CoinInvest.
Say it one more time. Bitso.
Mercado Bitcoin, which is started in Brazil. Now it has global. Foxbit also plays exchange in Brazil, but it's tokenizing everywhere. And CoinInvest, which is an infrastructure provider for banks in Cayman, but a strong market maker also. Very strong in BRL-USD, but also other Bitcoin and crypto as well. So they combine a lot of forces. So this is something that has been a great experience working with them.
Let's break this down a little bit. We have time. Help us unpack that. In your mind, you see these partners of like, oh, okay, we definitely need everyone here at the table to do this amazing thing. Let's break down each of them in your minds and like what those. Maybe we start with Bitso. Where you love Bitso today, and where all these pieces of the puzzle fit in your minds, and where you guys play too.
First, there's, in a sense, the very fact that they compete in many ways. There's some overlays. talking about their expertise and difference, but the very fact that they compete brings us the alliance we need, because the many side effects of this alliance, of this consortium or syndicated offering, is very positive to every user. For instance, because they're competitors and because they will never like kind of totally agree at a high level, at a holding level, let's say, we have to have very strong transparency, governance, scrutinization, verification of everything I did. So everything that runs from money to meetings to business decisions is something that in many ways, I have to make it totally in the open and totally like, okay, anyone here can ask and anyone can do that. So that brings very strong governance and resilience by itself. Then at the same time, they meet different publics, they have different trading, different vectors of forming prices. So that brings a diverse flow.
And would you compare this to like high frequency trading or like trading in general? I think of like a smart order routing system when you're executing a trade. Like I want to, execute this buy and I'm going to go, route that interest to a ton of different venues, do what like, there are a lot of companies that do this now, but is that sort of how you think about it? They can all compete.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. That's a good analogy, especially when you think that this only works if you have different origins of pricing. For instance, if you have pension funds who's pricing assets with their own concerns and risks and hedging, and then you have individual investors with their own manias and reactions, and you have professional investors that have a different take, and then you have hedgers, funds that are hedging against it. Then you need this rapid order routing and finding, because then you're actually transmitting information around price is information, right? You're transmitting information of value among the whole market. And those who do that, of course, first, they are providing service. They couldn't provide a service, let's say, or market making service, but also they're benefiting from those small or sometimes big parameters change in terms of something they can leverage on, they can trade and can say, okay, I'm just making sure that this parameter is too high here, too low here. I'm making better price for everyone. And also I'm taking my cut to do that. So this is something that only happens if you have this diverse. And this is one strong power of the network effect I'm talking about.
Yes.
Because it's diverse.
Yep. What would so you have this consortium that you said, you use this word consortium with these short list of companies. Is this something that is kind of set in stone? Like this is a set consortium, or is this more of like a global dollar network type of approach where you have an open and people can come in and participate?
Exactly. More a global dollar approach. People are invited to participate. We are making it broader. And the whole idea of the four is more like, okay, now we can work as a group. We can work with diverse ideas. We can work in diverse ways of source of customers. So this brings us very strong sense of, okay, if it works for four, we can do even modular. The idea is everyone will benefit if it grows. So we do invite selected partners, but we do invite them to join, and in an open, very egalitarian way, in the sense that first, we learn in the process, we learn how to share revenue. This is not that obvious, if you talk about, we learn how that newcomers can have some specifics on governance or onboarding or KYC that we have to respect. So this is something that made it, again, because they're competitors, it made us very resilient in the sense that new players are mostly welcome, and they will be getting in an environment that we know how to share ideas, we know how to share revenue, and we're transparent about those things. So this is something that if we were not open to, this would be a very serious.
And then in the consortium today, what are some things that, as this is an open door, you want to be making more of these relationships. What are some maybe key partners that you are looking to add, or some key, what's missing? Like, what are you looking for more of that you would want to add to this consortium?
We want to add a lot.
Yeah. What do you need right now? Like, what's the invitation to the world here?
Right. Well, the first immediate kind of obvious case at hand is exchanges. In just a few months, we're already top 10 crypto trading assets in Brazil. So this is something that for stablecoin, we're like, of course, it's
Not just stablecoins, across all crypto.
across all crypto.
Wow.
Across all crypto. So that's really something, and we're out for 4 months. And this is very well because, and this is something that traders are doing. It's not something that sometimes people want to use case. They say, look, I have trust themselves, but they're using it. So I know there's use case because there's people are using it. They're not even, well, now we're starting to kind of roadshow and getting the idea out, but it was not even out there before. And people were already using it a lot. So in this sense, it's something that we got a feeling that for this public, let's say exchange, market makers, liquidity providers, the product is very ready, is very tested in the sense that people that were not even knowing they're using it intensely. So this is the first keys.
And you're convincing these market makers, centralized exchanges, to prefer to use BRL1 or just include BRL1 as a part of their product suite for trading or settlement, or like how are these, centralized, pick your centralized exchange like Bitso. Where's that volume coming from? I guess is a better way to ask.
Okay.
What use cases?
Right. First, the main use case, well, even before the use case, is more like, it's not really about adding to the products they're offering. It's more like being part of the alliance, being part of this network, because then they're benefiting, even if this product in specific is not for their public immediately. But that being said, the volume, then say, why will they? The first being part because it's a growing network and they'll be part of something that is going to be growing and profitable, but also for their immediate benefit on top of revenue sharing is having those customers who would be willing to trade more using BRL1 to move among exchanges, to move sometimes from fiat to digital world and vice versa. These customers, they'll be having so maybe for instance, if it's a Brazilian customer, then it's a tool that you can be neutral, but not leave the on-chain world. This is one case. People also that want to make arbitrage and they're looking at Brazilian real prices or partially Brazilian real prices. And if they move other crypto asset, there's always some, even if it's liquid, like Tether, USDC, USD, they're liquid, but there's always some small spread, right? If you can move 1-to-1 or even thinner spread, then
BRL1 to real.
To real, yeah. But if you're looking at prices in real and you want to arbitrage the difference in price there, if you can move real, even if you're talking about 10 seconds, sometimes 10 seconds is enough for you to lose the trade, right?
It's really interesting. FX is such an interesting, there's a lot of buzz around FX. I keep hearing FX. We spoke with Mento Labs last week on this live stream we did, a dynamic. And I think about stablecoins, they're stable. They're tied to fiat currencies. They're not like speculative. But when you think about FX as a sort of a part of the industry, you're going from, one stablecoin to another stablecoin. There is that interesting, it feels almost like you're trading a little bit, and there could be opportunities to monetize that. But it sounds like for you guys, if you're going from BRL1 to real, are you guys monetizing that at all? Or is that one?
No, we're not monetizing.
It's really interesting. Okay. And maybe would you say that you are calling yourself an issuer? Is that the wrong way to say it?
Yeah.
Is that limiting?
Yeah.
As an issuer, how do you think about the really core goals here commercially? Is it expansion, increasing the market cap of BRL1? How are you guys thinking about making money if it's not on that one-to-one relationship?
Well, one important source of revenue is yield, right? Because it's one-to-one nominal. And of course, the reserves, especially because we have to be very cautious and very serious about any risk of the reserves, they're put into treasuries, in Brazilian real denominated treasuries from Brazilian government.
Okay.
Which, if you're talking about real, is the lowest risk you can get. But luckily for us, the lowest risk you can get in Brazil is paying 15% a year. because there's treasuries in Brazil, there's interest rate, basic interest rates in Brazil. So this is an important source of revenue. So of course, one way we could see as expansion is expanding the locked value, the reserves, the total issues. But I think that even more than that, looking a bit ahead, is that if you had more use, and even if we're talking limited now for exchanges, but then you're talking also market makers, then you're talking FX, then you're talking from FX you get payments, and
There's a
from
lot.
payments you get DeFi. So there's lots of things going on. It's an interesting environment. And then people really start having benefit of having this access. So this will be becoming more intensive. And down the road, we're really talking about, like a really roll up of the many, many functions of the current financial systems to on-chain. And then we're talking about credit, we're talking about reserves and guarantees, collateral.
The infrastructure.
Yeah,
There's so much.
Yeah,
I
there's
mean,
so much.
it's helpful to have companies like, these massive market leaders that we can look to, like a Circle or a Tether, as like, Circle's business. They're doing a lot of that. They're doing a lot of this infrastructure, and they're monetizing way more than just the USDC reserves themselves. Yeah. There's so much
Which
more.
is not bad, right?
Not bad. They're doing okay with that too. But yeah, there are a lot of businesses to play with if you're in the foundational layer here. So
yeah,
cool.
We have to. And in the long run, this is kind of what it can be used as hedge in a way, because if you say, okay, let's say the interest rates come down from 15 to 5.
The treasury.
Yeah, the treasury rate of Brazil.
What I'm new to this is for, you have U.S. treasuries, which is for Americans. Like we talk about that all the time. Is it essentially the same thing?
Yeah, same thing.
Same idea, same system.
U.S. for Brazil.
Are the rates similar too, generally? Or
no, the rates is 15%. That's
15%.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. So that's like 3x, 4x more.
Yes. So, but again, this can change. We have seen lower rates in the past. This has some economic
What is generally the threshold?
It has moved from, I don't know, we're in the highs, so 15 to 7 in the last, 12 years. 10
so 15's up very high.
It's high. So we have to consider what if it goes down. And that's something that if I'm sharing revenue, and this is a revenue that goes through all the network, everyone comes to me and say, okay, 15 is nice. How about when it goes to 7? And that's when you see that building this foundation you're talking about really counts, because if it comes to 7, we're talking about the speed, we're talking about the growth and velocity of moving of the economy. That's much, much faster. Money moves. Interest rate is kind of a brakes for the economy, right? If it goes from 15 to 7, you see the economy moving much faster. And then even more of the efficiency of stable coins will be played into hand. So we see a very good effect, but then I'll have to diversify and to say, look, I'm also monetizing in servicing this layer of
investors will like to hear that, I think.
Yeah, when you think of investment, for instance, you mentioned capital markets. At some point, they realize that, okay, there's only things for 24/7 thresholds on. If you're trading from San Francisco to New York or Brazil, London, or Japan, you'll have very tight hours you can move capital. The amount of capital that is just sitting there because you could not clear, or you cannot match, pre-match, rematch, reconciliate your trades before the cutoff time, and you cannot move your capital from Japan to Mexico to trade.
It's ridiculous. It's like, what if we could only send text messages?
What are you talking about? Right?
We only send text messages Monday through Friday.
Yeah, okay, we can send emails, but only with PDFs on it, not even text. And it's nice, it's digital, right? I send you an email, there's a PDF inside it, look at the PDF and say, oh yeah, I got an email. It's digital, but we're not talking about the same level of movement and agility.
How are you, there are these different approaches, and I'm very interested to see how companies like you all think through growth, expansion. Like, are you dedicated from a business standpoint to Brazil exclusively, and you want to go deep there and win that market? Or are you also thinking about, hey, what we've learned here in Brazil from a framework, playbook, infrastructure, relationship to the government, treasuries, is that something that you would be looking to expand to other parts of the world to do what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you might need a lot of different pairings.
Yeah, exactly. So we have to be 100%, let's say, locally compliant, expert, in tune with regulators. So in that sense, we have to be very much Brazilian if we're doing Brazilian real. Now, Bitso has interest in having a very good Brazilian real, but also that this very good in Brazilian real on chain is interacting well with MXNB, which is a big hit also. So we have MXNB in Mexico, and then you expect that MXNB works very well in Mexico.
Yeah.
Right. And that both work very well with USDC. So we do concentrating, let's get the Brazil sorted out, but that doesn't mean we're limited to Brazilian markets in terms of what are we offering. We're offering a very good service to get you're an alliance that are providing the best solution for trading something that's related to Brazilian real, so Brazilian currency. And because of that, we have to have very deep roots in Brazil. Now, because it kind of only makes sense to do that for an international perspective, because Brazilians, they do have access to Brazilian real.
Yeah.
Right. So part of that is, okay, let's make sure that the rest of the world is being able to enjoy this. So then we build international partnerships. We call non-Brazilian exchanges to be part of the alliance. We work closely with Juno. We're working very much with Juno. We plan to launch to work with Juno. We're working close to MXNB. We learn from the very good experience MXNB has sometimes in Mexico, and we can, make parallels, but sometimes just being a global exposure. So this is something that to be very good globally, we have to be perfect locally.
Yeah. Well, as we wrap up here, we're in Mexico City the next couple of days. You're here where there's a buzzing conference hall.
Yes,
we're in this,
yes.
people who are watching this can't see it, but we're in this like little insulated podcast booth, like in this conference center. There are hundreds of people outside. What are you most excited for the next couple of days? Like, what are you trying to chat with, learn about? What brought you here to begin with? What are some really key things for you in this? There's a lot of people here, a lot of companies that are flocking to this room right now.
It's
like
huge.
Like you're going to leave this podcast conversation and like, how are you going to, who are you wanting to talk to right now? What's the strategy?
It's the whole day packed, actually. So this is something that's very intense. And it started already on Monday. I did arrive on Monday. So then meetings and lunch also, but lots of meetings and conversations and how to explore this.
Yeah.
I see here, Bitso has like 2,000 plus companies that do the business with them. And Bitso Business is something that, even though we have a close relationship with Bitso, of course, it's something that we have to understand better. How are they deploying and how they're leveraging that to their customers and to their embedding in their products. And this is something that also from initial conversations, I have felt a very good feedback from new exchanges trying to work with us and joining the alliance, which is, for me, we have to, and also because of these companies, we have to respect a lot the fact that the way Bitso Business can integrate and offer BRL1 to their customers has unique value because the way Bitso Business do business, and because the expertise, and because they're, for instance, the best in doing remittances in the world. There's so many implications of that this is not the same conversation I have with other exchanges and their customers. And I have to respect that. And I say, look, I'm not going to discuss much about that, but let me hear your product, your customer, your public. So this is a big part of what I'm doing is that, okay, let's see how Bitso and Bitso Business can deploy this, can use this. But also we have Bitcoin, we have Foxbit, we have CoinInvest, we have other exchanges that are already joined that are also here. And the conference is not only on Bitso and Bitso customers, is got much broader.
Yeah, they've done a really good job of bringing the right people here. Maybe just one example here. So let's just focus on Bitso Business right now. They have, you said, how many? 2,000 different clients around the world?
2,000 plus companies.
It's amazing.
Yes.
I'm flashing back to the Circle-Coinbase relationship. That was like obviously so pivotal for Circle and Coinbase. Like, do you and USDC now is like so embedded within Coinbase everywhere you go, and that's like an incredibly fast rail for institutions to move money around. Like, when you think about the relationship between BRL1 and Bitso, Is that type of relationship similar to what you're going after? Like this really strategic and like embedded
It
type
is
of
strategic. It is strategic. And we hope we can embed their offer to LATAM in general, because their presence, we talk globally, but they do have strong presence and activity in Latin America in general.
arguably the largest embeddedness.
Yeah,
in that area. I mean,
exactly.
they've been around. This is a company that's been around for a long time. They're not new. They've crushed it for many years in this part of the world.
So, and this is something we're working for a while as a Brazilian market, okay? Because integration in Latin America sometimes is via Miami.
Via Miami.
Where do business in Miami? Okay, so this is something that we're working on for a while, and this is something that Central Bank of Colombia, Central Bank of Chile, Central Bank of Brazil is working on. It's something that, okay, in a way, it's okay because we're both selling to China or both selling to the US, but integrating that in the sense that now there's much more fluidity in business than selling commodities to a faraway buyer. Even if you talk about common sense, not usually admitted as big economy, like social media, Happy, Didi, those guys are kind of everywhere. And then the experience of Latin America is more deployable than having partners that understand broader Latin America and can deal with MXNB, can deal with BRL1, and it's all kind of the same in the same process. This is something that I look forward to get more.
That's awesome. Well, where can people find out more about you? What are some final thoughts as we wrap up here? Where can people go?
Well, BRL1.io, okay, initially. We are soon launching a more social media, Instagram, or LinkedIn presence also.
Cool. We can help with that. Let us know.
Oh, yeah, well, I'll absolutely let you know. Well, thank you. The conversation was great. And continue the conversation soon after. But yeah. So
Cool. That is your conversation with Tomas from BRL1. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Drew.
Cool, man.
Very nice being here.
Ti ricordi quella sera che per gioco tu baciai? Sembrava solo un'avventura di Palma.